You know, sometimes the biggest stories are the ones hidden in plain sight, or in this case, hidden in just a few lines of code. So today, let's crack open a digital cold case, the story of a single program that, over a decade ago, completely rewrote the rules for modern espionage.
And it all really comes down to this one question. How are the world's biggest cyber attacks actually connected? You probably think they're all separate events, right? Different actors, different motives. But what if I told you that a lot of them share a common ancestor? A kind of digital ghost in the machine that links them all together.
And our story starts right here, with what you could honestly call the original sin of modern state-sponsored malware. We're talking about a computer worm known simply as Agent.btz.
So back in 2008, this thing, Agent.btz, it just explodes onto the scene. It causes what was called, and this is a direct quote, the worst breach of U.S. military computers in history. Seriously, the fallout was so bad, they had to launch this massive cleanup effort called Operation Buckshot Yankee. But here's the really wild part. How did this historic breach even start? Was it some super complex Hollywood-style satellite hack? Nope, not even close. It all started with an infected USB flash drive, supposedly just found in a parking lot.
And make no mistake, this thing was not just a flash in the pan. I mean, look at this timeline. The first versions pop up in 2007. By '08, bam, it hits U.S. Central Command. Fast forward to 2011, and it's a full-blown global epidemic in 147 countries. And even as late as 2013, years after everybody knew about it, it was still being detected thousands of times all over the world. It just wouldn't die.
So what was its secret sauce? Why was it so effective? Well, Agent.btz wasn't your average virus. It was a worm. And the main thing you need to know about a worm is that it's basically a self-replicating machine. It's designed to spread all by itself, hopping from computer to computer, network to network, often without anyone having to click on anything. Its entire purpose was to spread like wildfire.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Yeah, the Pentagon hack got all the headlines, but this worm, it went everywhere. Just look at these numbers from 2011 alone. You'd think the US would be at the top of that list, right? Nope. It was the Russian Federation with over 24,000 unique infected users. Spain, Italy, Kazakhstan. I mean, this was a legitimate global pandemic in the digital world. So, fast forward a few years. Agent.btz is out there causing chaos. And then a new player enters the game. A super sophisticated cyber espionage operation, they called it Red October. And when investigators started digging into it, they found it was doing something very, very specific. And that turned out to be the first major clue in our cold case.
It was like a digital scavenger hunt. See, here's how it worked. Agent.btz would steal data and stash it on USB drives inside these special files, using these really obscure names like thumb.dd and mssgmr.ocx. Okay, so now cut to Red October. What was its USB stealer module programmed to do? You guessed it. It was actively searching for those exact same file names. Think about that. It wasn't just grabbing random data. It was specifically hunting for the crumbs left behind by Agent.btz.
So what does this mean, right? Is this proof that the same people made both? Or is it something a little sneakier? Like one group of spies just letting another group do all the hard work, and then coming along later to steal their stolen data? It's a fascinating question. The evidence was there, for sure, but it wasn't quite a smoking gun yet. But then, the case blows wide open. And it's all thanks to our next suspect, a really notorious long-running cyber espionage group known as Turla. And with Turla, the clues stop being circumstantial. They become undeniable. This, my friends, is where we find the smoking gun. First off, let's talk file names again. Just like with Red October, the Turla malware had this weird obsession with Agent.bt. It used the exact same obscure names for its own log files. I mean, look at these. winview.ocx, wimcache.nld. What are the odds of two different groups accidentally choosing these exact same random names? This is not a coincidence. It's a fingerprint, a deliberate choice. But hold on, because this is the moment where everything just clicks. This is the big one, the final irrefutable piece of evidence. They didn't just share file names. No. As the investigators dug deeper, they used the same secret encryption key. Let that sink in. That is the digital equivalent of finding matching DNA at two completely separate crime scenes. There's just no denying it. And there it is, that ridiculously long string of characters. That's the shared key. It's like the secret password that works on two completely different locks.
Now, to be fair, security researchers had already published this key after they analyzed the first worm. But the fact that the creators of Turla decided to reuse this exact same key for their own new, sophisticated malware, that is the strongest link you could possibly ask for. It's a direct line right back to Agent.btz.
So the connection to Turla is solid. Case closed, right? Well, not exactly. The story doesn't stop there. The influence of Agent.btz was so profound, you start to see its echoes, its techniques, popping up in other massive state-sponsored toolkits. We're talking about the infamous Flame and Gauss malwares.
Now with these guys, it's less about sharing code and more about inspiration. Like they saw what Agent.btz did and thought, hey, that's a good idea. Look at the patterns here. Flame's main component was named mscmgr.ocx. Sound familiar? It's incredibly similar to Agent.btz's mssmgr.ocx. Both Flame and Gauss, they just loved using those .ocx file types. And what about stealing data? Yep, you guessed it. They also used USB drives as data mules. And the timeline? It's perfect. Their development kicks off right around 2008, just when the world was learning about the worm that breached the Pentagon.
All right, let's zoom out for a second and connect all these digital dots. We've followed this trail of digital breadcrumbs from one single worm to a whole ecosystem of spy tools.
So first you have Agent.btz. It literally writes the playbook. It proves to the world that, yeah, a simple little USB worm can breach the most secure networks on the planet.
Next up, Red October shows up and acts like a digital scavenger, specifically hunting for the data that Agent.bt already stole.
Then Turla takes it to a whole new level. They don't just copy the style, they copy the secret key, forging that undeniable, rock-solid link.
And finally, you have the other big guys, Flame and Gauss, who basically mimic the style. They adopt all the best tricks for their own spy games.
So here's the bottom line. This one worm, Agent.btz, whether it was on purpose or not, became the unwitting inspiration, the foundational blueprint for an entire generation of state-sponsored spy tools. Its success was a proof of concept that showed everyone else how it was done, creating a model that others would copy and refine for years.
And that leaves us with a pretty chilling thought, doesn't it? If one little worm from way back in 2008 could inspire a whole decade of digital spies, just imagine what today's incredibly sophisticated malware is going to inspire tomorrow. What kind of blueprints are being written right now?